gentlemen, we're going to go from jets to propellers. And I want to introduce you very close work shows to me around the country. As these P-51 Mustangs take off, they can go back on their perch. With. Let me turn it over, ladies and gentlemen. Please welcome my good friend, and I like to refer to him as the dean of the Airshow announcers, Sword of Excellence winner. 120 days to freshly build a new airplane. That was an incredibly bold statement.
But they did it, and this was the result. As gorgeous as it is in the sky, it has a distinctive sound of a Rolls-Royce Merlin engine. Now, Rob will tell you that eventually over 15,000 of these aircraft were manufactured. In the world today, surviving are about 150, perhaps 70 to 80 could actually fly on any given day. Listen to me.
Now, Danny, interestingly, the original airplane built by North American had an Allison V12 engine in it. It was okay, but it was not good enough to operate at the high altitudes to fight off those Luftwaffe fighters over Great Britain. And so it was the Brits who got creative.
They did. They took the engine from their Spitfire fighters and they adapted it to this airplane. Now, it had a feature that our Allison American-built engine did not have. It allowed Rob and you great spectators to get into the dogfight arena. It gave it another 10,000 feet or more of dogfight altitude and another 100 knots of airspeed. It allowed the wing to finally do what it was supposed to do. It allowed the streamlined fuselage to do what it was supposed to do, and that transformation was a massive breakthrough.
That wing design was something that what did you say when Dutch Kindelberger said he would build a new airplane? He knew about this new wing design, laminar flow. What did he have?
Yes, they said, now, Dutch, how did you get that airplane from beginning production off the assembly line and ready to go in that short amount of time? He said to the press, you know, in magic, you cannot pull a rabbit out of a hat unless you first have the rabbit in the hat. So Rob was telling you, Dutch Kindelberger and the guys at North American Aviation, they were ready. They had the plan. They sprung into action. And this is the legendary fighter that flew in all theaters of World War II, by the way.
And also was flown by America's first African-American pilots, the Tuskegee Airmen.
Followed, okay, now eyes and cameras over your right shoulder. Look over in the direction of the control tower. This will be the photo pass. These two guys are amazing. Rob and I are going to talk about their ability, but there are a couple of great civilian pilots who fly a real discipline and high training level. This is hard to do. Let's introduce these great pilots, Rob.
In the lead is Luedi Horschel, a guy who grew up in upstate New York. His dad was a pilot, and he started flying in a Cessna 182 when he was a kid, and then got his license. And he now flies a number of different warbirds, including Mad Max, the one he's flying there, and that's flying now. And also he's involved with the United States Navy's Legacy Flight Program, flying an FG-1D Corsair. One of those Corsairs that was built by the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company in Akron, Ohio. They weren't all built by Chance Vaught. And on his wing is a guy who commutes to do these shows, but the commute's a little bit challenging, isn't it, for Ariel Luedi?
Yeah, he comes all the way. He commutes from Switzerland. Yeah. By the way, he was a Swiss national aerobatic champion. He too has an extensive history.
He flies, and in addition to, he leads a team of Pilatus aircraft very similar to the T-6 Texan IIs.
Okay, watch to your left and listen. Eyes and cameras.
As we see them this is an amazingly challenging thing for these guys to do. But the motors we were listening to, those Rolls-Royce motors, when the Brits put it on this Mustang, they were building one-offs. They didn't know how to build enough, and they needed way more. And it was an American company that stepped up to the plate.
And we were always reminded throughout the course of the years, Rob Reiner, from General Chuck Yeager, that's an American engine. That Rolls-Royce engine was built by the Packard Motor Car Company in Detroit, America. Darn right, we took our lesson well.
And they built about 56,000 of those motors. They didn't expect them to last all that long, so they just built them like crazy. That is America. That was the arsenal of democracy.
Everybody pitched in. Now, these aircraft, we talked to you about the production run. After the war, you could buy one of these for several $100s. And Rob, I surveyed the Warbird sales community around the world, and they're going now for about 2 to 2.5 million, depending on the restoration, the spares, and whatnot. So again, it is the Rolls-Royce Merlin engine sound. By the way, the name Merlin is not folklore from the UK. It is a pigeon honk. That's what a Merlin is. Watch and listen. Great formation.
The P-51 Mustang, if you've seen the movie Top Gun Maverick, right at the beginning, they've got Tom Cruise, Maverick, working on a Mustang in a hangar.
It's his airplane.
Yeah, for
and by the
real.
way, he flies every day that he can for relaxation. If they're shooting in Hollywood, after they get done with the day's shooting, the sun is still up, goes and gets in his P-51, which he has trained in very extensively. He takes his flying very seriously, and he goes out over the Pacific Ocean, does a little sightseeing out to Catalina Island, down and through the inland, gets a relaxation, and he's ready to go to filming the next day. Absolutely loves aviation, like so many in the Hollywood community, whether they're entertainers or musicians, composers, directors, they love aviation.
Okay, now I'm going to start. Michael Dorff. Michael, who played Worf in Star Trek. He flies a jet warbird.
Yes.
And who else? Name some of the others, because you get out there.
Kurt Russell flies. Kenny G flies.
Travolta.
Kim Holden. It goes on and on. You can see all their faces at a gathering we have every year. But they will not talk about Hollywood. They will not talk about movies. All they want to talk about is aviation. Oh, we missed Harrison Ford, among others. Yep. Morgan Freeman.
Oh my
big
gosh,
time
yes.
pilot.
All those guys are living legends of aviation, and I will just, I'm going to toot your horn for you, Danny, because you were also named one of those living legends of aviation by the Kitty Hawk Air Academy. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
The Mustang, it makes, now watch this. This is a barrel roll, but it's done in trail formation. And as they do this, they are painting the inside of a barrel, maintaining G's all the way around, and then looks kind of like a, well, this actually is a trail formation loop, but this is the kind of work that is a very perishable skill, isn't it, Dan?
I cannot give these two pilots enough credit to be this proficient in formation flying as they are, and as they have been in prior years. They are out rehearsing day after day after day. By the way, Rob, on takeoff, you're burning about 160 gallons an hour of fuel. That's about $8 a gallon. However, back in cruise, you're only burning 50 gallons an hour.
Nice.
Yeah, so now it gets pretty reasonable.
It's interesting. There's another interesting thing, Danny, about these motors. The Packard-built motors. Packard didn't build everything. There were other subcontractors, and some of them actually had valve cover casings, and I think some of the engine parts were made by another company that everybody here will recognize, and we'll say it together. Maytag.
Maytag built fighters.
They were the Maytag Mustangs, they nicknamed them.
You could close your eyes and understand and hear that that was a Rolls-Royce Merlin engine because of that smooth sound. The aircraft is a liquid-cooled engine. It has a radiator like a car or truck. And as they pass by you, look at the belly of the aircraft.
Oh, yeah.
And check out that protrusion on the belly between the two wings where they join the fuselage. You'll see that's the radiator. Now, that is a drag item. But here's what they did. Rob's going to tell you what they did to negate that drag of the big radiator for the coolant and the oil. Rob.
They actually initially had some airflow problems, but they worked that. The air comes in to cool, it gets heated up, and when it goes out the back, it creates jets.
When we see this type of freedom here at Cherry Point, I can only say what Sean Tucker used to say every show: God bless America. God bless the freedom of the skies we have. God bless our Marines, all the people in uniform. And when these civilians fly warbird aircraft, Top Gun aircraft of World War II, you know why they do it? They fly in honor of the men and women who built the airplanes. They fly in honor of the men and women who maintained the aircraft, and they fly in honor of the men and women who flew the aircraft either in or to combat. That's the theme of the Warbirds of America, the Commemorative Air Force, the Yankee Air Force, Canadian Warplane Heritage, and many other organizations. They do it out of love for our veterans. They do it so that we can keep history alive. They do it so that we can see what Top Gun was like in World War II.
405,000 Americans lost their lives in World War II. 16 million served in our military in World War II. And yet, even those who stayed home sacrificed, participated, because our way of life was threatened. And it was their sacrifice, their work, their commitment, their honor that has given us our freedom today.
All right, as the airplanes come in for a landing, you'll see that they have a tail wheel environment. So they will probably choose to land on the main gear only, keeping the tail up. That's called a wheel landing. It allows you to have some forward visibility before the tail comes down and the tail wheel meets the runway. It gives you rudder authority, forward vision. It also allows for the first airplane to speed down the runway, allowing the second airplane on final approach to have time and space to land behind the lead aircraft. Now the future of the aircraft as it's rolling out, Rob, you remember they had a little bit of trouble with the air coming into that radiator at the bottom of the fuselage. It was burbling up. It was not going through. It was getting turbulent and it was heating up the coolant. What they did was to build a gutter. They built a space between the forward lip of the opening of the radiator and the bottom of the fuselage. They called it a gutter because that's what it looks like, a gutter or a curb on your street. Where do we see that today?
30 years later, they designed it into what has become the F-16 Fighting Falcon, flown by the United States Air Force and by many other nations. But that 1940 technology still is applicable today.
Broke the way.